You join me in a pretty farmstead just outside of Paris. It's got all the things you'd expect: lovely stone buildings, chickens, even a donkey. But as for automotive history, the best I can offer is an old Massey Ferguson tractor. However, when it comes to the future, behind this door is one of the coolest barn finds you ever will see. Let's take a look. This is the Dacia Manifesto concept car. It's not going to make production, but that does mean that the designers can let their imaginations roam free without having to worry that company accountants or automotive legislation will corrupt their vision. It's essentially like when you used to doodle dream car designs in the back of your school exercise book, except this time the pros are doing it. According to Dacia, the Manifesto, or brand marker concept car as it was at the time of filming, is all about testing new ideas and, quote, tending to customers as they become ever keener on outdoor pursuits. It's a direction that we've seen Dacia move in before, although this is surely the most radical expression of it yet. For example, the exterior is conspicuous partly by what is not on the car. So you'll see no doors, and also no windscreen either, straight out of the Caterham playbook. Dacia says that it puts you more in touch with the outdoors, nature, but if we're going to hedge a bet, it's probably not the kind of thing that would make it onto a final production car for obvious reasons. Speaking of which, the single headlamp probably won't make it into any kind of production either, which is a shame because it is cool. And as Dacia says, why have two when you can just have one if it's bright enough? And it does make sense. I also like how you can take the entire thing out of the mounting and then use it as a torch when you're in the woodlands or the forests doing expedition things. And check this out. You can see a circuit board design which isn't hidden. Now, usually in LED headlamps, they hide that towards the back of the unit so that you can't see it. But with this, it's nice and exposed and you can see all the cool electrical bits. The headlamp isn't the only detachable part either. Dacia's YouClip range of accessories will, in future, be compatible on a number of different models across the range. Now, the YouClip idea hasn't been fully fleshed out yet because we're yet to see a full range of accessories. But what you've got to think of it as is customization taken to the next level. So for example, say you want an extra storage area, or you want a sunglasses holder, or a ski rack, or maybe two-way radios for a road trip. You can have that installed on the car pretty much where you want it. And because the mountings and the moldings are open source, or they will be open source, the community can help design that and have input. So it basically means that while, for example, this is quite a pared back interior design, you can customize it how you want. And that's how Dacia sees the future for its range of cars. And should any of those accessories need charging up overnight, the brand marker concept features a heavy-duty battery on the rear end. It does, though, add plenty of weight, so it can just be left as storage space if you prefer. Now, obviously, this car doesn't run as it is, but if it did, then it's very, very suited to the great outdoors because it's got things like a raised ride height. It's also got all-wheel drive, but we've seen that kind of thing before. What we haven't seen before are things like Starkle. And you can see the material here. It's made up of 20% recycled plastic. And basically, the really good thing behind it is that if you scrape it on a tree branch, for example, because it's not painted and it's just a solid material all the way through, you can simply rub off the scratch, which, as anyone that's done a lot of off-roading will know, is ideal. Also, check out the wheels. And notice that there's no air in the tyres. These are airless tyres. And it sounds fanciful, but Dacia reckons that this could make it into production. The ride quality, it may need some work, but the good thing about it is that if you're off-roading and you get a puncture, then that's a bit of a disaster, especially if you haven't got a spare. But with this, you're not going to get a puncture because there's no air. And it also means that the wheels And the tyres, they should last the entire lifespan of the car. And that'll save you a fortune in new tyres. You might also wonder what happens to the interior when you're off-roading with no doors or windscreen. Does it get caked in mud, for example? Well, yes, it most probably does, but the good news is that the whole car, including the cabin, is waterproof, so you can simply hose it down with a jet wash afterwards. However, if you're going to do that, then just remember to take the seat fabric out first. Otherwise, you'll end up with a very, very soggy night's sleep. And that's because these seats come away entirely from the body of the car and they double up as sleeping bags. Other useful features for the campsite include the roof that doubles up as a table, and there's also a fold-out work surface instead of the tailgate. Again, some of this may never make production, but if it did, you can see a clear theme where certain design features have another use away from the car. After all, with so much time and development put into the design of every model, it makes sense to get as much use out of them as you possibly can. I really like what Dacia has done with the brand marker concept. There's some really clear and interesting ideas for the future, and it chimes in from what we've already seen from this manufacturer. I also like how there's a kind of Colin Chapman-inspired mantra of less is more. When they were designing it, they clearly thought, do we really need a windscreen? Do we really need doors? Do we need 2 headlamps? Do we even need air in the tyres? It's very, very radical. But then with concept cars, it's pretty easy to be radical because they're a one-off. There's no oversight, there's no committee. The real proof of the pudding will be how this transfers into production cars of the future. And I reckon that if they just get a semblance of the ideas from this car into those production cars, then they're certainly going to be on to a winner.